should be live on YouTube. Boom, boom. So yeah, guys. So if you're just tuning in on Instagram, we're talking about pricing. Okay. So drop in the chat what you're struggling with when it comes to pricing, um, what you want to learn, what you need help with. And I'm going to pull this up on YouTube just to make sure we're live. Yep, we are. Go. Closing the more. We definitely. All right. And then once we get some people on YouTube, we shall start. It's gonna be fun. I've got my big water. It's gonna be a good time. All right. Also, if you guys are watching live, whether Instagram or YouTube, if you're watching live, tell me how much you charge. I'm really curious. And if you do photo or video or both, let me know how much you charge. Very curious because I'll probably write it down in my notes. And we'll start the podcast episode here in just one sec. Getting everything set up. It's good to see you guys here on the IG. Love your faces. We always have more people on Instagram than YouTube, but then we also have like a lot of people who watch the replay on YouTube. I need to believe that there are actually people who would pay this much since I never would. What do you mean by this much? Let me know. Sweet. I see you, Scott, on YouTube. $2,200, 2 hour, 28, 4, 30, 36, 8 hour. Love it. I got to pull up the chat on Riverside. There we go. Charge 3K. Okay. So you guys are about average. Yeah. Let me know how much you guys charge. Put it in the chat for me. This is going to be good. We'll start here in just one sec, guys. We'll start the official podcast. I just want to get a little bit of chats with you guys. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do it. So I'm going to go ahead and start recording for the podcast. I got to get OBS up. Hold on. Hold on. There's always a tech nightmare doing these live, but I like doing these live. Hopefully, you guys like doing these live too. It's fun. I want to charge at least 38 minimum, go from there. That's my goal and work my way up. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Cool. We will talk about that. Why is my audio not working? Okay, test. Perfect. And my video. There we go. Cool. All right, we're going to start the podcast. You guys ready? This is going to be fun. Okay, going live well, we're already live, recording in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Full-Time Wedding Pro podcast, my friends. It is good to see you. My name is Peyton Helm. I'm the host of this podcast. This podcast is sponsored by my coaching program, Full-Time Wedding Pro. If you want to learn how to run ads to book weddings and charge more, which is going to be on topic for today, and close more weddings and live a better life as a wedding photographer, that's what I help you do. If you want to look into more info about that, go to fulltimeweddingpro.com or click the link in the description wherever you're watching or listening to this. Today, we're going to be talking about stop undercharging and how to price yourself as a wedding photographer or videographer, and how to raise prices. And we'll probably also touch a little bit on how to close people at higher prices. So we are live right now. So over the last few episodes, we've been doing each podcast episode live on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. It's about 2:14 right now, so we got started a little late. There's been a lot of tech things that I've had to deal with these. But anyway, so we're live on Instagram and we're live on YouTube. If you want to jump on these live and ask questions in the chat on these live streams, feel free to jump on Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern. Either follow me on Instagram at Peyton Helm or go to YouTube and just search up Full-Time Wedding Pro and you will see the YouTube channel pop up. That's also where the recordings are, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that fun stuff. So today, like I said, we are talking about how to stop undercharging, okay? And how to price yourself as a wedding photographer or videographer in 2026 and 2027 and so on. So in the chat, if you guys are watching this live, we had a few people talk about how much you guys charge, but I would love to know how much you guys charge and how much you want to make. Okay. Because there's the way that I teach pricing inside Full Time Wedding Pro is a few things, right? I have very what would I call it? I have very contrarian beliefs around pricing. A lot of photographers and filmmakers, myself included, when I first started, which transparently speaking, when I first started shooting weddings, I was charging very, very much bottom of the barrel. I was charging like $500 for my first few weddings, and then I was charging like $3,000 for photo and video for a full wedding. It's not great. That was back in like 2019, I think, or like late 2018. And then I started watching educators and influencers in the wedding industry talking about how much they charge. And I saw people who were charging, six and 7,000 for photo and video, and people who were charging 10,000 for photo and video. And I saw people who were charging seven and $10,000 for just photo and then just video, and I was like, oh my God, I can make so much money. This is going to be great. And it was great. I did make a lot of money, but there was a lot of COVID things in between that I had to deal with. But you guys know that story if you've been following me for a while. But what I also learned along that process is what it really takes to charge more for a wedding. And also, like, where are the dead zones in pricing? What do you need to show as a brand if you want to charge more? I think is a huge topic of conversation. And then obviously too, like, how do you close these people if you're charging more? What do you put in your packages if you're charging more? If you guys are in the chat, if you're relating with this, let me know. Like, what are your fears around pricing? What do you want to learn about pricing? Right? So what I really want to know, what are your thoughts on diversifying your cash flow versus productizing your services and creating programs? So I don't know if this is specifically on the topic of wedding photography or videography, but it's a good question. We can touch on it later, I think. I want to charge at least $3,800 minimum, go from there. That's my goal. Blah, 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 blah. I want to believe that there are people who would pay this much since I never would. Okay, cool. So, like I said, guys, I see some of you guys jumping on now, which is great. Let me know how much you guys charge per wedding. And also, too, like, what do you want to learn about pricing? What are your fears? What are your struggles around pricing? Right? What do you really want to know? Okay. And we'll use that to kind of navigate through this podcast episode. But I want to start off with, where do you find just the general realm, okay, of where you should be charging? Because we have to have a starting point somewhere, okay, before we can talk about what do you put in your collections and how do I close these people and how do I show the portfolio, blah, 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 right? We have to talk about first, where's the pricing ballpark you guys need to be, okay? So if we just, for 1 second, if we just remove your thought process behind, oh, I'm worth this much, whatever that means. I feel like I'm worth 50 grand per wedding, but I'm not going to do the work required to charge 50 grand per wedding. I just don't want to. I feel like I'm worth that though. Some people charge 5 to 10K. They feel like they're only worth 500 per wedding. And that's just a belief issue. It's an insecurity issue, you know? I feel like I'm not good enough to charge more with how saturated. Oh, there you go, right, Scott? So like Scott has an external limiting belief. The market's saturated. There's people who are just as good as me who charge less. So why wouldn't couples go less? Right? Derek said 3,500 to 5,000, not getting enough inquiries anymore. Derek, you need to watch my other videos on how to get more inquiries. We're not going to be talking too much about inquiries. I mean, we will. Pricing does play into getting inquiries. Funny enough, right? But you have to have a starting point. And that's where I really want to talk about this. So I need you guys to 1 second remove the thought process of, I feel like I'm not worth as much. You need to remove the thought process of, I feel like I'm worth anything. Remove that from your brain for a second. Also, completely remove how saturated the industry is. Hey guys, fucking surprise, every industry is saturated. There's 8 billion people on the planet. Every industry is saturated. There's not a single industry that I could point to right now and be like, there's not enough service providers in that industry. Every industry is saturated. Every industry is hard to build a business in. So get that out of your head, right? Like there is no pricing realm right now in any industry, let alone the wedding industry, that is unsaturated. Even the people who are charging $50,000 to $100,000 per wedding. Oh, my thing just cut off. There we go. Okay, I think I'm live. Even people who are charging $50,000 to $100,000 per wedding, you might think, oh, it's not saturated there. It is, because the amount of clients who are actually able to pay that match the amount of people who are providing that service at that price. Okay. And that is the same for every price point, right? We have brackets in the wedding industry, and I've seen these over and over and over and over and over again, specifically in the United States. If you're outside the United States, you might have to do a little bit of research, okay? Because I know the market's a little bit different. But in the United States, we've got like the really, really cheap, which is under 2 grand. That's like bottom of the barrel. I'm a beginner, or I have massive insecurity, or I'm trying for some reason to shoot 100 weddings a year, or I've got an associate team doing it and I'm just charging bare minimum. I'm giving full day coverage and raw footage and like all this bullshit. And I'm trying to just beat everybody else on price. Bottom of the barrel. Okay. Under 2 grand for like a full day coverage for one service, photo or video, let alone if it's photo and video. That'd be terrible. Okay. And then we have the average market. In the United States, usually the average market is between two and $4,000 for one service for a traditional day of coverage, right? That is where most photographers and most filmmakers and most couples fall into. Okay. The average, the majority, right? That's why when I ask that question, a lot of you guys are within that realm. Okay. Then we get to the upper professional range, okay? And I define that as anywhere from 5 to 7,000 for a traditional day, right? Sometimes a starting rate, you call that too, for one service, local, okay? So just bare minimum, local wedding. I'm going to be there for 6 to 8 hours. I'm just doing one service, no frills. I'm going to charge you anywhere from 5 to 7,000. Okay? Then we start getting into entry luxury, which is around 10,000 starting for a local wedding, one service. And then we get into luxury, which is 20,000 plus. Okay? Every single one of those thresholds is saturated, right? So if your question in your mind is like, okay, what should I charge? Should I raise? What segment of the market I should go into? That's what we're covering today. Chug my monster so I can have the energy to proceed in this live stream. My computer is also going crazy right now. I think I'm still live though. Okay, we're good. Okay. That was weird. So, going back to what I was initially saying. How do you know where to start? Now, most of you are not starting in the wedding industry. Okay. Most of you watching this have shot probably a decent amount of weddings. In fact, oh, this is going to shatter your all's beliefs. I just started talking to this guy who joined Full Time Wedding Pro. Okay. And he literally has shot one wedding and immediately went to $10,000 and is booking there. I think he's booking there or he's about to. Crazy business. I've had friends and mentors who shoot 2 or 3 weddings and then immediately start charging 7,000 and more. So, I need you guys to understand one thing. The whole thought process of I'm not worth it because either my work isn't as good or the market's saturated or whatever, just like, get it out of your head for a second. We need to have a baseline. So, here's how to figure out that baseline. It's a very simple formula. It's a very simple equation. Number 1, how much money do you want to make per year shooting weddings? Just from weddings. What is that ideal revenue? Gross revenue before taxes and all that bullshit. Put it in the chat. I want to know. How much money do you want to make? And don't be like, "Oh, dream or realistic." Just tell me how much you want to make per year. Like what's your goal? What's your end goal? Whether it's a couple years down the line or next year or whatever. Tell me what your end goal is. How much do you want to make per year? I want to know. 100K. Perfect. Give me more. For me, it was 150. That's how much I wanted to make per year to be happy. 100K. Just saw another chat on YouTube. Love it. Any other chats from you guys on YouTube or Instagram? 100K, 100K. Surprised we're not getting 200, 150. There you go, Sam. Cool, cool. I put a poll on my story. Most people said 200, which is very interesting. Very interesting. And then I had some outliers, some who were like, oh, I only want to book a few. And then some people who were like, I want to do like 5 million this year. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. 150, 150, 100, 500. Perfect. Let's just do quick math. Okay. So what you want to do, I want to quit my job a full-time job and do 100K or more. I would quit. Perfect. I love it. So the bare minimum here would be like 100, but I also want to do the math at 200 because I know some of you guys want to do like 150, 200, maybe like 500, like Kilmer saw it on YouTube. So let's do 100. Let's do the math. Now, how many weddings can you guys physically shoot per year? Put that in the chat. Okay. And if you have associates, it's okay if that number goes up, obviously. Okay. For me, the most I wanted to shoot was 30, and I did that a couple years in a row, and I literally it was terrible. Hated it. I do not want to do that again. That was me, right? Comfortably 20 max. Okay, Josh, your pricing is so easy. What's 100,000 divided by 20? 5,000. Boom, right there in the head. Okay. 150. Give me more numbers, guys. I don't want to do more than 15 to 20. And Derek, you said yours was 150. So let's do 150 divided by, let's do 15. Okay. 150, that's 10,000 per wedding, ideally. If you want to do 20, do 150,000 divided by 20. That's $7,500 per wedding. So we're landing. And this is, by the way, this is where most people will land, by the way, right? They'll land somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 per wedding. So that's like the goal. That's what you guys want to get to. Sam said 25 feels good. And Sam, I believe you said 150. So Sam, your ideal your ideal price per wedding is going to be a little bit lower, right? So 150 divided by, is that 150 million? No, 150,000 divided by 25 is 6,000. Perfect. Kelmer said 500,000, 500, yeah, 500,000. Also do corporate work and PR. So Kelmer, I assume you're probably giving me your total. If you want to, give me your like your just wedding only, and tell me how much you want to make from just weddings. So the equation here, okay, you take how much you want to make gross per year and divide it by how many weddings you want to do. Oh, mind blowing. Obviously, it's very easy just to say, oh, cool, I need to make this much per wedding. Now, here's what I want you guys to understand. There are limitations to this, right? If you want to make 100 grand a year and you can only shoot one wedding a year, good luck, bro. You know, if you want to make, Calmer, if you want to make 500 grand a year, okay, 200. So you want to make 200,000 from weddings. Perfect. So then you can tell me how many weddings you want to shoot per year, right? There you go. Unless you meant 500,000 a year and 200 weddings, which would be, what is that? 2.5 thousand per wedding? I don't know. But anyway, so, where'd my calculator go? Yeah, 2,500 per wedding. Um, hey, if you have associates, go for it. But I think you meant to say 200K from weddings. I don't know. But anyway, so what I was saying is there are limits to it, right? If you find that your number needs to be like, if you can only shoot 10 weddings, you want to make 100 grand, that's 10,000 on average per wedding. 200 from weddings. Got it. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So, um, right? 10,000 per wedding. That's a pretty steep price. I mean, you're getting into entry luxury at that point. So we need to figure out then how to get there. And that's the next stage of figuring out how much to charge, or well, yes, figuring out how much to charge, raising whatever. Okay. You've got your ideal price per wedding. For most of you, it's probably going to be around 5,000. For me, let's see. Let me do the math on mine because I actually forgot. I think it came out to 7, which is why I started at 7. So 150, and I didn't want to do more than 20. I think it was 25 a year, so 6,000. So Sam, I was like right there with you whenever I was doing this full time. So I didn't want to do more than like 20, 25 weddings a year. So I knew I needed to be around 6,000 plus per wedding. That was my math. So again, to recap, if you want to know how much you need to average per wedding, take how much money you want to make per year, gross revenue. Okay. So make sure there's enough in there to cover taxes and expenses and travel and all that stuff. Okay. And then divide that by how many weddings you can do per year max. All right. Maximum. You could also, if you want to play with it, you could do like, okay, I can do 30, but I prefer to only do 20. So here's what I should shoot for. And that is going to give you an average price per wedding that you can go for. Makes sense. Okay. So now here's what I really want you guys to understand. This is way more important than what I was just talking about. This is what I just talked about was how to get like your target. This is like, okay, this is where I want to go. Okay. But how do you actually get there? That's what we're going to talk about now. So I believe, and people can disagree with me on this. I believe that pricing has less to do about your work and the experience you provide, and it has more to do, stay with me for a second, more to do with the clients that you're attracting, what they want to pay for, and the types of weddings they're having. Okay. So when you think about what should I offer in a package? Like I charge 3,000 right now for 8 hours of coverage. If I want to get to 5,000, should I offer 3 days coverage? No, no. The pricing you charge is determined by the clientele that you attract to your brand. Okay. The pricing you can charge, I'll say it again, is determined by the clientele that you attract to your brand. And then other things like perceived value play into that. Perceived value, trust, authority, all that stuff. Okay. So I need you guys, again, for the entirety of this podcast, just please try to remove from your head that limiting belief that you're not good enough or that the market is too saturated to charge the price that you want to charge. For those of you who are watching live, we're talking about how to price yourselves, how to raise prices. And we started off by giving you a simple equation. Take how much money you want to make per year and divide that by how many weddings you can shoot per year. And that will give you the price that you want to go for. Okay. So now we're talking about how to get there. I'm gonna take a drink of my water. Okay. So, how do you determine what you should show to the people who are willing to pay the price that you want to charge? That's usually the next step in that question. And then finally, we can talk about what to actually offer them because that part's really easy. Okay. We have to solve two big problems here. Number one, how do we attract those people? Okay. And then how do we give them enough perceived value to actually want to pay us the amount of money we want to charge? How do you feel about displaying pricing on your website? We'll talk about that, Scott. Don't worry. That question is so inconsequential though. It honestly doesn't even really matter. But we'll talk about it. Okay. So the first step that we usually start with, and we do this inside Full Time Wedding Pro if you guys join, is we work through a wedding brand template. Okay. And included in that template, we have essentially three main questions that you're supposed to answer. Number one, oh, we just paused on Instagram again. I don't know why we keep pausing on Instagram. So weird. Anyway, so we do three main questions that you should answer. Okay. Number one, who are your ideal clients? Number two, what types of weddings do they want to have? And then number three, what are your brand pillars? Okay. I want to start with the types of weddings that they are having. So let's start there. We mentioned earlier at the very beginning of this podcast that there are different market segments of how much you can charge as a wedding photographer or videographer. And when I mention these prices, I want you guys to understand I'm talking about local weddings, one service, so just photo or just video, okay? And like a typical wedding, like one day, not anything like a multi-day crazy, right? So just understand that when I mention numbers, that's what I'm talking about. The market segments we've got on the very low end, 0 to like $2,000, okay? Then the average is between 2 and 4,000. Then we have above average, but still in like that kind of overall, majority, 5 to 7,000 for one service. And then we get to entry luxury at 10, and then we get to about, luxury, whatever that means, at 20 plus per wedding. Okay? The types of weddings that you guys will shoot if you're charging 0 to 2,000 is wildly different than the types of weddings you'll shoot charging 2 to 4,000. And those are wildly different from the weddings you'll shoot, charging 5 to 7,000, and so on and so on and so on. Okay. So, what you guys need to do is taking that number from earlier. If you know you need to charge $5,000 per wedding, you need to do external market research. Okay. You can also do internal market research if you've shot at that price point before, but do external market research. And don't go and look at like, oh, this photographer's charging this much, I'm going to copy everything they do. What you need to do is you need to find out what types of weddings those people are shooting. Find out what types of venues they're working at. Find out how like what types of couples, what are the demographics, okay? How old are the couples? Right? How long have they been engaged? What do they do for work? Do you know? What do they value out of their wedding? Okay? Are they having big weddings, small weddings? Are they eloping? Are they having a 2-hour elopement? Are they having a full day elopement? Are they getting married at a gigantic villa, right? Are they doing a DIY wedding in their uncle's backyard and eating Taco Bell? I've that one comes from experience. I live in East Tennessee, guys. Okay. Are they getting married at a castle in the mountains? That also comes from experience, right? The venue that they're getting married at, right? Is it a $5,000 venue? Is it a $50,000 venue? Are they having real flowers? Are they hiring a planner? Or are you the one doing the coordinating? God forbid, right? Doing that research will let you know, okay, if I want to charge this much, this is the type of wedding I need to shoot. That's the easiest start to figuring out how you can get to that level. Okay. If I had to talk about a wedding, I cry happy tears, my soul food. I can't, Sam. I can't. Talk about screws me up, man. Yeah. Ooh. But yeah, that actually happened. It was, I think I charged 1,000 or 1,500 or something like that. It was around like 1,000. Video only, not even photo, video only. It was a long time ago. And they got married. This is a good story. They got married at their uncle's house in their backyard. They had handmade wooden arbor. It was actually pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. They did a good job. Okay. They had the reception in the big garage because they were truck drivers and they all wore jeans. And you know, like the little lapels, right? That like the groomsmen wear? They were shotgun shells with little flowers coming out of them. Yeah. I don't shoot those types of weddings anymore. So, but I got there, or I got past that because I actually was like, okay, I know how to raise price. And again, I'm taking my ego out of it. I'm taking my limiting belief that I'm not worth it. I'm removing that. And I'm just looking at the data. I mean, you guys know I'm huge on that, right? Just looking at the data. If I want to charge this much, I need to be shooting the types of weddings that these couples are having who are paying this much for a photographer. Okay. If I wanted to charge 10,000 per wedding and I wanted to do weddings, right? And not elopements, because I do elopements personally. But if I wanted to charge 10,000 per wedding, I would probably need to know, okay, this is the exact layout of the wedding that I want to shoot. It's probably at a super high end venue. They've probably got a full service planner. Maybe not at 10,000. They probably have a regular planner. Okay. But like, the planner's not hiring all the vendors for them at that level usually. Sometimes they've probably got a lot of florals. They probably got like a really elegant caterer, right? They're probably going to want a specific photo style. It's probably either going to be like the super clean and timeless style, or it's going to be the super like filmy vintage, but also kind of elevated, right? There's going to be certain styles they really want. Okay. It's going to be probably in a certain location as well. Now, if you're in a big city, you don't really have to worry about that at 10,000. But like for me, being in East Tennessee, usually if I'm booking at a $10,000 wedding, I'm going to Nashville, I'm going to Charlotte, I'm going to Raleigh, I'm going to Wilmington, North Carolina, I'm going to Atlanta, Georgia. I'm shooting at bigger places, right? It's probably going to be a bigger wedding. Okay. So that's the first step. To recap, if you know you need to get to a certain price point, call it 5,000, 10,000, whatever per wedding, you need to do the research on what types of weddings those people are having who are hiring photographers and filmmakers that okay. I'm not talking about here getting in touch with these venues and like forming vendor relationships and all that shit. You can if you want, but that's not my preferred. My preferred is ads. Okay. And we will bring in paid ads at the very end of this, I promise. Okay. So that's first and foremost is knowing what types of weddings you want to shoot. Okay. Then you need to know what types of couples are having those weddings. Why do you need to know that? So you can speak to them, right? Every type of couple at every price point hires for different reasons. Okay. Drill this into your head. Couples who hire you under 3,000, sometimes even under 4,000, typically they're having a very basic wedding. It's probably a lot of DIY stuff. Okay. It might be at a nice venue. Every now and then you'll have some at nice venues, right? Some with some decent catering, right? A lot of times, though, everything's a little bit cheaper, smaller venues, sometimes big weddings, a lot of times smaller weddings. But what do the couples care about? The couples are probably young or they're a lot older and they want to save money. Okay. What do they really want? A lot of times they hire based on line items for price. So, for example, if you charge $3,000 for 8 hours coverage, you might lose that wedding if a competitor with a decently similar portfolio with, those weddings in their portfolio charges $3,000 for 9 hours of coverage and maybe an extra add-on. You might actually lose that wedding to a competitor who just offers a little bit more for a little bit less or the same price. Because those couples typically will buy based on what's the best deal. That's just how it works. The lower you go, the more commoditized everything is. The biggest lesson I learned personally whenever I raised prices, and I see this again and again and again and again in full time wedding pro, is when you get from 3,000 to 5,000, a switch happens, and suddenly you're dealing with couples who buy on trust. Now, yes, they still want a good deal. Everybody wants a good deal. Okay. But if you can talk to a couple who buys on trust because they trust you, because you provide an incredible experience for them, because the photos or the videos that you produce are so similar to the wedding that they want that they can actually see themselves in your portfolio, in your work. If you make them feel taken care of, if you pay attention to the small details, and if you're intentional, man, you're going to win that booking, right? It doesn't matter if you charge more than your competitor because you nailed everything else. Those people buy on trust and authority. A lot of times also they buy on personality. Okay? They want to know that you're the best fit for them. They don't care as much about a deal. Now with that said, you can't come in and charge 10 grand for 2 hours of coverage, right? It's different. You still need to have a good deal, which we'll talk about. Okay? Is this making sense to you guys? Let me know if you vibe with this. Also, too, we got a lot more of you guys watching live. Let me know how much per wedding you guys want to charge. Let me know. I'm curious. Oh, and I haven't really said this in this live stream yet. I usually say this every week. If you guys have questions as I go through these, feel free to ask it. We'll stop and we'll answer. So, Scott, your question on YouTube. Peyton, how do you feel about displaying pricing on your website? This is actually where this comes in, right? So I said we'll talk about it later. Because if you want to filter the amount of people who are coming to you and have higher quality people coming to you, I'm a big fan of posting pricing on your site, but doing it in a way that will actually convert. Okay. So I don't mean saying, oh, here's all my collections and here's all my price for all of them. I have seen people do that at 5K plus and it works. I don't have enough data to really say yes, go for it though. Okay. I'll be happy with minimum 5K. There you go. Right. So how do you get there? Okay. The first two things you want to start with: number one, knowing what types of weddings those couples are having. Number two, knowing what those couples want from a photographer or filmmaker, knowing why they buy, and knowing what they want to see. I charge 85. My goal is to charge 15. Love it, dude. Love it, Kelmer. Shanna sounds like banana. Shit, shit. Okay. Shanana sounds like banana. Shanana. Is that your name? Wild username. 5,000 to 8,000. Okay, love it. That was fun. Okay. And you guys on Instagram too. Feel free to use the chat, right? That's why you're here. Okay. So 5,000, 8,000, right? That's how much you guys want to charge. So again, knowing what types of weddings they're having, knowing how to talk to them. Oh, we just got paused again on Instagram. What is going on? I think it's my AirPods. Hold on. Let me move my AirPods far away. Okay. We'd love to hear more about ads. Some people will say lead forms. If you want to learn more about ads, I do cover ads every now and then, but we're not talking about that today. Go on my YouTube, Crown Meridian Photo. Go on my YouTube. It's in my bio on Instagram, and there's a lot of videos on ads. We will talk a little bit about ads in this video. So I'll retract that statement. We'll talk a little bit about ads, not too much though. So anyway, that's what you need to do in the very beginning. Shauna, shit. Whoa, our chat's going crazy on Instagram. Shanna. My name is Ben. Thank you, Kelmer Studio. Ben. Thank you, Ben. Okay, cool. No problem, Crown Meridian. Okay, so I wish I could see your all's like real names here. So I just have to like call you out by your username. But anyway, so those are the first things, two things you need to do to learn how to get to that price. Now, the third thing, which is hard. Okay, this is not easy. So just please understand that this is not easy to do. If you need to get to a certain price point, you know what those couples want to see Okay. Because you know what types of weddings they're having, and you know how to speak to them because you know what weddings they're having and you know what they want from a photographer. You know what they value from their wedding. You know what they value from their photographer, filmmaker, whatever. You know why they buy. Now you need to show it, which means you need to get the portfolio. And that's the hard part. Now, there's a few ways to do this. If you already have a portfolio that actually can pass, you're good. Just show it and raise your prices either incrementally or do a large price rate or a large price increase and announcement. And we can talk more about that. Okay. As a coach, I recommend the safe option, which is raising price incrementally. There is a price lull area, which we'll talk about. Okay. But I usually recommend raising price incrementally. So that way you can track your close rates as you increase. Okay. But what a lot of my clients do in full time wedding pro is they will come to me, they will go through this very first module, which is all about like, what types of weddings do you want to shoot? What types of weddings your couple's having? Blah, 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 blah. All your brand pillars, all that. And then they'll kind of go through a little bit of a rebrand. They'll show a better portfolio. Okay. And then they'll be able to raise. Now, when I say better portfolio, what does that mean? A lot of educators say that. Oh, you need to elevate your portfolio. Your portfolio needs to be better. Fucking God, it gets on my damn nerves. So, what does that mean? Can somebody please fucking explain what a elevated portfolio means? Yes, I can. You're welcome. An elevated portfolio simply means that you are showing what your couples want to see. That's it. That's all that means. Okay. Case in point, I had a client I was speaking with recently who was closing weddings. Okay. But they kept getting asked over and over and over again, hey, I only see a handful of photos on your website. Do you have any full galleries? Can I see full galleries? And I was like, hey, post full galleries on your website. And they were like, okay. And they did. Guess what? Oh, more inquiries. Wild, right? Exactly, Josh. Josh, making work to target an audience. Exactly. Okay. Me personally, I wanted to shoot all day elopements. So what did I start doing? I started posting work from all day elopements. I didn't have any all day elopements that I booked. So guess what I did? I paid for workshops and I paid for retreats and I did model calls and I did fake elopements until I had the portfolio. And then I was like, oh, shoot, now we have a portfolio. Let's start advertising. And then I started booking them. It's wild how that worked, right? So you have to know what they want to see. Elevating your portfolio is just simply only showcasing the photos or the videos that your ideal client would be able to envision themselves in. And the easiest, most fundamental way to do that is to just show not only their specific demographics, but also the types of weddings that they're having. That's it. Tips on getting quality comments for model calls. Crown Meridian, I would actually find model couples in your area and reach out to them and just pay them if you can. If you're like tight on cash, then you can actually reach out to friends of yours, right? Who have wedding attire. That's the word. My cat is trying to get out of this room for 1 second. So give me the 2 seconds, guys. Okay. I was like, why is my door rattling? It's because my cat was like trying to freaking get out. Okay. So yeah, model calls. I've always just been like, hey, like I've also reached out to other photographer friends and be like, hey, do you know any really good model couples? Um, so yeah, that's what I do. What's the best way to post full galleries on your site? I use Show It if that matters. Do you link to full galleries or upload a full gallery to your site? Sam, I recommend posting blog posts on your website with gallery highlights. So you don't have to include like a whole 1,000 photo gallery if you don't want to. I usually save that till post inquiry, but I will show on a blog post, probably a few hundred photos, maybe a couple hundred photos, or maybe even 100 photos. What they really want to see is they want to see if you're good at posing, but they also want to see if you're going to capture their guests. You also want to see if they're going to capture the details. They also want to see if you're going to capture the ceremony stuff, right? All of that other stuff. You got your showstopper images and video, and then you've got everything else. Now videographers, you guys have this a little bit easier, right? Now you could also post like raw footage, not like raw footage, but like documentary edits, ceremony and speech, uncut films, whatever. so people can see that, right? Instead of just your prettiest highlight clips. But for photographers, it's really nice to post galleries. Okay. Are you guys following me on the whole portfolio thing? Right. To recap it, and let me know in the chat, yes or no, if you're following. Okay. And if you feel confident in it. If you know you need to charge a certain amount per wedding, and to find that out, you just take how much money you want to make per year, divide that by how many weddings you can shoot. Now you know how much you need to charge per wedding. Okay. You need to know what types of weddings those couples are having. You do that through external market research. Okay. Looking at your competitors, looking at other vendors, finding blog posts. Like you can literally use ChatGPT or Claude or even Google and just be like, photographers that charge this much in this area. And look at what types of weddings they're shooting. Okay. Don't worry about their editing style or any of that stuff, right? Editing is truly personal. Okay. I don't care about editing. As long as like your lighting looks okay and you don't look like you're running a 2012 Instagram filter, then you're fine. Or 2016 Instagram filter. I think that's when Instagram launched. I don't remember. Anyway, was it 2012? Yeah, it doesn't matter. So anyway, editing doesn't matter. You need to know what types of weddings they're having so you know what types of weddings to show in your portfolio. For me, okay, I do elopements. It was a little bit harder for me because the traditional elopement is like a 2-hour Vegas elopement, or like a 2-hour ceremony on top of a mountain, or a 45-minute church thing, or going to the freaking courthouse, right? Me and Caitlin literally went to the courthouse and we're there for 30 minutes to get our wedding license. And my mom took photos on her iPhone. like, but then we traveled to Italy for 2 days and we paid Henry a lot of money to shoot our elopement. And we paid Dylan from the Kitcheners a lot of money to video our elopement. Right. So I was like, oh, I need to show full day or multi day elopements. Okay. And if you don't have that portfolio, styled shoot, second shoot, host your own model call, or what was the third one? Oh, yeah. Run a special offer where it's like, hey, I want to shoot at this venue. I'll work with your budget. Or I'll work with your budget and then you choose the wedding based on the venue you get. A lot of stuff you could do there. Okay. But once you have that portfolio, and guys, you only need a few, like 1 or 2 weddings. You can go full send. Wild. I've seen this over and over and over. That video was sick. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. It was lovely. Dylan was amazing. Okay. This is making sense. Let me know. So then the other question is, hey, how do I actually get these inquiries? you know, like what do I do? Okay. There's a lot we can talk about here. The biggest thing, though, honestly, I could just sum that up by saying, watch my other YouTube videos and some of my other podcast episodes. Because the easiest way to do it is to take that portfolio and run ads with it and then get people to your Instagram or to your website. Right. But also, I think that's a very real conversation about the different things that you guys need to do to stand out above the competition. And I got some time, so I think we'll talk about it. Right. Let's talk about how to really elevate yourself past the competition, depending on the price you charge. And I can tell you this from somebody who's worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of filmmakers and photographers all over the world, but primarily in the United States. Okay. I'll tell you guys how to stand out in each category. Number one, if you're like bottom of the barrel, low, 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 the easiest way to stand out and get the bookings is just to offer every single thing you can for the lowest amount of money. like, sorry, but that's just kind of is what it is. Don't be there, ideally. I don't think any of you guys are there. If you're between $2,000 and $3,000, the best way that you guys can stand out is to essentially just show the best portfolio possible and shock everybody that you're so cheap, right? So if you have like an incredible portfolio, if you're shooting crazy weddings, and then you come in and you're like, I'll do full day coverage with a second shooter and I'll give you sneak peeks and I'll give you whatever for like 3 grand, you can probably book it. You can also show full pricing on the site. A lot of people do that too at that price point, and it works great. Okay. Again, though, that's not my ideal price range because I think the real money gets there whenever you're at the 5 to 10,000 range. Okay. So, like Ben, for example, you're talking about how you want to get to 15. So we can talk about that too. Okay. But for the five to $10,000 range people per wedding for one service, local weddings, the best way for you guys to stand out is to get your face and your personality out there on video. That's the best way right now. Okay. So, yes, you need to have a good, refined brand. You need to be niche down. Okay. Be like, I shoot weddings, but I only shoot this specific type of wedding for this specific type of couple. You need to have the portfolio that shows it. You probably need to have some upfront pricing somewhere, a starting rate, a range, an average. It doesn't matter. They all work, whatever you prefer. Okay. That's the bare minimum. If you want to stand out, you need to be making content. You need to be posting your face out there on your website, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. And you're like, oh, I don't really want to do that. That's fine. You don't have to. You can still run ads and not put your face anywhere, probably, and book some weddings. You could probably rely on some vendor referrals and you could book some weddings. Are you going to book 30 weddings a year with relative ease? Probably not. If you want to stand out, you need to lean into why these couples buy. They buy on trust, authority, and personality, but mostly trust. So if you can show your face on video at every stage, everywhere you go, you will increase trust again and again and again and again and again. The biggest thing that separates us from each other is our own personalities. It's the fact that we're human. Why do you think I'm showing my face right now to all of you guys? I don't do this because it's fun. It's kind of fun. But I do this because if I do this, I see a gigantic increase in trust. Huge. And yes, I know I'm an educator. But guess what, guys? You know how when I post on my Instagram, I post like personal stuff? Guess what content gets the most engagement from not only you guys, but also my couples? It's personal stuff. It's stuff about my business. It's stuff about driving my car. It's stuff about my hobbies. It's stuff about my pets. It's stuff about me and Caitlin. It's our stuff about being crunchy and drinking protein sodas and stuff. Stuff like that. It's showcasing my personality, right? I'm acting essentially as an influencer, except not one of those stupid fake influencers. It's like, oh my god, you guys, I'm so nervous. Um, you guys know I don't do that. I'm not saying you should do that. Please don't do that either, right? Be a real person. Okay, huge. Thank you for the follow, Ben. So that's the best way to set yourself up. Now, how do you set yourself apart at the 10 plus level? That's a different conversation. When you get to that level, people do buy on trust, but they buy on trust, and that trust comes from who you know. So, like Ben, for example, you want to charge like 15 plus. If you're talking about like 15K for one service, local only, you're definitely going to need to be inserting yourself into some circles. Okay. You can get there with ads. I've got clients who do that with ads, but it's more rare. Okay. Once you get to that level, a lot of those couples who are spending that much are number one, they are trying to get people who have a lot of authority, okay, and a lot of relationships. Okay, so authority, they've been featured in a lot of places. They've got a metric shit ton of followers on Instagram and a lot of notoriety. Okay, they've won awards. They are potentially educators in the wedding industry. They've got a lot of notoriety behind their name, but also they come highly recommended from a lot of vendors and a lot of clients. That's how you stand out at that level. And that level, if you get there, if you get there, congratulations, because you are the top echelon of wedding photographers. I love it, dude. Love it. Right. But if you want to charge 10K plus for one service, local wedding, you do that. Right now, you could charge 15,000 per wedding and not do any of that if you do, a 2-day wedding, let's say, and you do photo and video. Right. I've booked a ton of $15,000 weddings. But those are either like, one day, full day with photo and video, or it's like a couple days, maybe like a destination. You know, it's most by referral from other friends or planners that work with me. Exactly. That's how you really stand out in that segment of the industry. So I'm glad that you know that. I'm sure you do. I mean, I didn't doubt that, right? If you're already charging 85. Okay. So We're at 3 o'clock now. We've been going for almost an hour. That was essentially the most of what I wanted to talk about. I didn't have a full plan, but to recap, okay, if you want to know how to get to a certain price point, or sorry, if you want to know how much you should charge, I don't know why my chat is going crazy right now on Riverside. I'm just gonna. It's so weird. Why is it doing that? Okay, no, okay, hold on. We're having to take that away. Okay, YouTube chat is going to be up. Right there. Okay, sorry. So to recap, if you want to know how much you should charge per wedding, you need to do reverse math. Take how much you want to make per year, divide that by how many weddings you want to shoot. Okay, that will give you a number, probably somewhere between 5 and 7, maybe $10,000 per wedding on average. Then you need to know how to get there. The easiest way to do that: three things. Number one, figure out what types of weddings those couples are having. Number two, figure out what types of couples are having those weddings and what they buy on. Do they buy on trust? Do they buy on authority and who you know? Do they buy on line items for money? And I broke down those examples earlier if you've jumped on late. Okay. Because I gave you that advice, right? But also, what do they really value from their wedding? What do they value from their relationship? What do they value from their wedding? What do they want from a photographer? That's the second thing. Third thing, show that in your portfolio. Show those types of weddings, show those types of couples. Okay. You can't get around that. At the end of the day, we are selling the envisionment of your couples in your work. Your couple, if you want to have a couple hire you, they need to look at your work and envision themselves in it. So you can't get around that. You have to have the portfolio to show it. But you don't need to have the most edgy and like best editing style. That doesn't fucking matter. You just need to show that you can shoot the weddings that your couples are having if you want to get to that price point. Okay. And depending on your price point, that could be really easy. And you might already have that portfolio, but you just aren't showing it, but you just aren't raising prices yet. Or you need to go out and get that portfolio through a styled shoot or doing a model call or working a wedding for free or whatever. Like whatever you need to do. There are infinite ways that you can get the portfolio. Usually you have to either pay for it or do it for free or not get paid much. But that is an investment. That's one or two weddings. And then you can, from there, book 30 a year at whatever price you want. So it's an investment. Think about that. Okay. And that was essentially it. That was the whole podcast. So I'll go ahead and end the recording. But I will stay on live with you guys and we can chat and answer a few questions. Okay. So if you're watching the recording, just know that when we do these live, I do a little Q&A right after. So, my friends, thank you for watching this podcast recording. If you want to work with me and run ads to book weddings, go to fulltimeweddingpro.com or click the link in the description wherever you're watching this. There's a free video on there that breaks down everything that we do and how we run ads to book weddings. It's pretty great. And if you want to work with me, book a call and we'll chat about it. So, love you, my friends. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye. Boom. I don't know why I said bye bye like that. I was like, bye bye. Bye bye. Okay, guys. What other questions do you have for me? Let me know. We can talk about anything. It doesn't have to be about pricing. We can talk about literally anything. If not, my wife and her friend made baked goods while I was doing this. So I'm going to go eat me a baked good. So let me know what questions you guys have. What kind of Facebook ads would you run for a 10K plus wedding? So, Ben, good question. The strategy itself doesn't really matter as much, right? So you can run ads to your website, you can run ads to your Instagram, you can run ads really anywhere really. But the question is like, how do I get those couples who can actually pay me 10K? Because if you're running ads, the ads are going to everybody, you know, like you have control over who ads go to within reason, right? But especially when you're first starting with ads, it's hard to tell Meta, like, hey, I only want to show this to people who can afford 10K, you know? Because like all the old targeting stuff on Meta, where it's like, oh, I can target by income demographics and zip codes, that shit doesn't work anymore, right? That has not been accurate since like 2019. So the question of like, how do I actually get couples who can afford it? In my program, we have two ways to do this. Okay. Number 1, we've got, like, the really wide funnel, and then number 2, we've got, like, a really tight, narrow funnel. So, this starts with having the portfolio and showing the weddings, okay? So, every ad that you run would need to show that type of wedding. Very simple, okay? If you can do that, you're immediately gonna be separating yourself, okay? Because, for example, let's say you shot a wedding that you charge 10 grand for. And in that wedding, you took a lot of photos of the venue and like details and like, the couple wearing their like designer dresses and suits and all this stuff. And you have all that portfolio. But then in the ad, if you run a picture of the couple kind of zoomed out a little bit in a nice field with like the mountains in the background, that ad is probably going to go to couples who want to elope or having like an outdoor wedding, and they don't know that the couple is wearing designer, dresses and all this shit. So like that's going to go to couples who probably have an estimated budget of $2,000 to $5,000. So the imagery that you show needs to be exclusive if you're charging 10 plus per wedding. Okay. That's the first step. Okay. Then you need to decide, okay, am I going to run a wide funnel or am I going to run a tight funnel? A wide funnel is essentially most likely you're going to be running to Instagram, but you can also run to your website. Okay. And you let everybody inquire. So you'll get people who inquire who have a $2,000 budget, people who inquire who have a $5,000 budget. You'll let people inquire who have an $8,000 budget. And then what you do is you essentially take them all and you just try to talk them up. And you'll have a lower close rate, but you will ideally still make a lot of profit. This is not theory. A lot of my clients do this in full time wedding pro who charge 10K plus. They'll let anybody inquire and then they'll either talk them up or they'll just spend most of the time with couples who come to them saying, "Yes, our budget is 10,000." And it works great. It's annoying because in your mind you're like, "Oh, I have to deal with a lot of low budget couples." But in reality, it's just you're dealing with average budget couples. You're just only working with the top percentage of them. And then you're also talking some of them up because there are some who are getting married at like a really nice venue and they're spending a lot of money on florals or whatever. But then they go to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever, and they're like, "How much should I spend on a photographer?" And the AI is like, 2 grand. And they're like, "Hell yeah." So then they come to you and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can pay 2 grand." And then you talk to them and you realize that like their overall wedding budget is like 100 grand or 200 grand. And then it's like, "Oh yeah, no, here's our pricing. Here's why we're the best, blah, 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 blah." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I really like that. Let's go." So that's what a lot of my clients do who charge more is they'll just let everybody come to them and then they'll just kind of look past all of like the whole like, "Oh, my budget's only this." You're still gonna get some of those people who are like, "I can only afford 2 grand." And you're just gonna be like, "Okay, well, we're just not the best fit for you, you know? Or you'll hire an associate to go shoot it, that's different. But that's the wide funnel. Okay. So you're getting a lot of people in and you just have a low close rate. And it's a little annoying, I will say that, but you can usually make a lot of profit that way. The other way is to run it really tight, where you show that $10,000 starting rate on the website or on your Instagram, for example. You can have like a little story highlight that says like pricing. Um, you'll get a lot less people and your cost per inquiry is probably going to be a whole lot more, but you will save time not talking to the other people. Okay. So the pro is you save a whole lot of time. The cons are it's more expensive because you lose the ability to talk people up and people will see that 10K price, even if they can afford 10K. And the 10K plus crowd are very knowledgeable. They will be able to make a buying decision without a phone call. So you'll essentially only get the people who can afford you when they're ready to buy. So that's the difference between like the wide and the tight. Most of my clients who charge 10K plus prefer the wide. So that's up to you though. You can do whatever. What does your daily budget look like for your students' ads? Does it take a lot of money and time? So like I always get this question. I should make a reel about this. I always get this question like, hey, how much should I spend per day on ads? I can't give you guys like a flat number because it's completely different for everyone. What I tell everybody is take the amount of money you want to make per month from ads and divide it by 10. That's how much you should spend per month. So if you want to make 10 grand a month, divide that by 10, you should spend $1,000 a month on ads. But only when you have a winning ad that's getting you results. So If you are just starting with ads and you wanna make what is that? Like 1,000 a month is like what, $30 a day? So 30 times 30, it's like 900, so like 33 times 30, I think, or something like that. Yeah, yeah, so like $33 a day. So, like, you might only wanna start at 10 or $20 a day, you know? Then go from there. So, how long does it take? A lot of money and time. It also depends on the strategy. If you're running ads to Instagram and you're getting DMs, you'll be able to tell pretty quickly without a lot of ad spend if the DMs you're getting are quality or not. If you're running ads to your website and you're showing a price and you are, you charge 5 grand and your cost per inquiry on ads is like $100, which is good because you should be able to close like, 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5, and like your cost per booking would be like $500 for a 5K booking, which is great. It's just gonna take a little bit more money, to get there and to figure out if your ads are working or not. There is a learning phase. The learning phase is different for everyone. Sometimes it's 14 days, sometimes it's 5 days. It just depends on how much you're spending. So, is it more about branding for a quick result? Branding is important, but it's not like you need to have good branding if you want ads to work. All good branding is the same thing we've been talking about this whole call, which is showing what your clients wanna see. That's the biggest and most important thing. Would you be willing to look at my site and let me know if there's anything I can do to increase pricing? I will do that if you join Full-Time Wedding Pro. But let me know if anything I can improve to increase pricing. We're currently starting at 16.95 for film and 27.95 for both. Yeah, it's pretty low. Like the biggest thing I would ask you, if you did join Full-Time Wedding Pro, for example, because like I only do like personal site reviews for my clients. Because if I did that for you, like everybody would ask me. So I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just, I don't want to get like 10,000 messages from people like, hey, can you look at my website? Because I'd be like, fuck. So the biggest thing I'd ask you though is like, do the research. Like you're charging $1,600 for film. I assume you mean video, but you could also mean film photography. I don't know. I assume you mean video though. So like, are you shooting the types of weddings that couples who pay 5,000 for photo would have? If so, you could probably go ahead and start raising. But if you're shooting really low budget weddings because you're charging so low, you might not be able to increase. Hey. Oh, guys, I have the baked good that she made. Thank you. What is it? Peach? Peach upside down cake that Caitlin made. Thank you. Oh, should I try it live? Okay, we're gonna try it live, guys. Oh my god. Everybody's like, ew. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Mm, thank you. I'll be wrapping up in a second. You guys should get married. It's fantastic. So anyway, dang it, I wish I had a napkin. It's like got all over me. So anyway, what other questions do you guys have for me? If nothing else, I'll go ahead and cut it here in a couple minutes. Oh, oh, that is not a good combo. Let's drink water. All right, this is a good call. Well, I know we got a little bit of delay, so I'm just waiting. I don't even know how many people we got watching on YouTube right now. Oh, there's 7 of you. Sweet. Thank you. Appreciate it. KK Gillette. Thanks for the live. No problem, guys. All right. Seems like we're out of questions. Love your faces. I'll see you guys next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to learn more about Full-Time Wedding Pro, go to fulltimeweddingpro.com. Feel free to book a call with me. We will chat about how we can help you run ads to book weddings. I love you, my friends. I will see you later. Bye-bye, YouTube first.